So here we are. Good morning, everyone, at Namaste, Lake Chapala, and the experience of Namaste right where we are sitting or standing right now. That's the key. It's right where we are, right where I am right now. And today we're going to take another step into that experience of devotion that comes when our heart is open wide and we realize there's only one thing that we want, desire, and there's only one thing that is ever going to satisfy us. And that's the source of love itself. Sometimes known as God, sometimes known as Allah, Yahweh. It doesn't matter what name we use, it's the experience. And that's the only thing we are pointing toward, moving toward, is that experience of our heart being open wide to the experience of the love that we are and have always been. So, what we're going to be doing throughout our next, maybe forever, we'll just see how it feels. But yesterday we did a little simple movement and chant with the great Sufi chant, La ilaha illallahu. There is no God but God. And just being so devoted and so open hearted to that experience. We're going to try something a little bit different, something that's similar, a little easier actually. Once again, these exercises, these chants are just meant to open us up wider, to swing that door open so that the sun and the wind and the air can come bursting in. So, here's what we're going to do. You're all familiar with whirling dervishes, the Sufi tradition, where these dervishes spin as they pray and as they give their hearts completely to the divine. And in the spinning, they become entranced, and their whole heart, their whole being is focused there. Well, this is going to be similar, but something we could just do right here in our chair. We don't have to actually spin or move at all, actually, but it's going to create a bit of the same experience, the same opening. When a whirling dervish is spinning, there is a pretty normal hand movement that they do with one hand open and up and the other hand open and down. What they're doing basically is with this hand, they're receiving or they're reaching out to the divine. They're receiving that divine light. And then with the other hand, they're sending that light back to humanity, back to all beings, a blessing to all people. So that's what we're going to do. You can just keep, you don't have to keep them out the whole way. Like you can, but you may get tired and you can always just pull them in a little bit. So what we're going to do, instead of spinning, we're going to have our hands out. And with this hand, we're just going to be reaching out to God and giving everything and just with love. This is the key. We have to feel this devotion, this longing. So if we say Allah, 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 and we're reaching out, I want you to imagine that you are somehow floating between two banks of clouds. You know when you're taking off in an airplane and you see that first bank of clouds and you burst through that bank of clouds, but then if you're in the airplane and you look up and way up higher you see another bank of clouds. So now you're between them. That's kind of the feeling I want you to create, or the vision. And so you're somehow floating between this bank of clouds, and with your left, I'm doing it with my right hand. You can do it with either your left or your right hand. You're reaching out because right above that other bank, the bank above you, what is often called the cloud of unknowing. This is the great 13th century mystical book that describes this process. Above you is the cloud of unknowing, where the divine, where the ultimate reality, where the beloved is. But we can't quite perceive it because our mind still has created this bank of clouds, but we can still long to penetrate that cloud. And so we sense that the divine, that God, the beloved, is just inside there. And so we're reaching toward that bank of clouds. With the other hand, what we're imagining is that we're sending that love, that light, that blessing beneath the other cloud, which then falls to the earth as a blessing to humanity. And the reason why we want to have that other bank of clouds there is so that we can remain completely focused on that devotion. We don't need to decide or figure out how that light, how that blessing is going to impact or how it's going to touch people. We just need to be the source of that. We just need to be willing to be giving that light. So, once again, what we'll be doing is we're going to be reaching out as we say, ah. Actually, we breathe in on la. We breathe out on the sound la. La. We turn our head from the right to the left or the other way, whichever way you're pointing. So, la. La. Join me in that. La. 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 Really feel it. La. La. Reaching out to God. La. 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 Reach even higher now. La. 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 Just a few more times. La. 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 Once more. La. So now just rest for a moment. Continue to breathe deeply. And feel the impact of your willingness to be that bridge between heaven and earth. The means through which that blessing can be extended to all beings everywhere. The way that that light penetrates through that cloud of forgetting to touch the hearts of every person that we think of or don't think of, every being who exists. We allow this blessing, this light to penetrate. And we are confident that this is so, and so it is. So go ahead and open up your eyes whenever you want. It's such a simple exercise that you can do almost anywhere at any time. And with just a minute of that, you feel your heart open because you literally become that bridge of grace that helps that light to penetrate the hearts of everyone, especially yourself, first and foremost. So we'll continue to do these little exercises at the beginning of our sessions, just because it's a way of just opening that door, just like you've been in a stuffy house and finally you swing the door open up the windows and let the air come flowing in, this fresh, new, clean air. And now that we're in that open space, I'm going to share the lesson that came this morning from the impersonal light. And just allow this, now that we're so open, allow this light to penetrate. Here we go. Now that your eyes are open and you're finally able to see what has always been so clear to me, it's easy to to realize who you are and that you never left your home except in your dreams. I never lost sight of you, and now you must not lose sight of your self. Self with a capital S. You must not lose sight of yourself. Look into my eyes and see yourself reflected there. See how perfect and how lovely you are and have always been. It is not a body that you look upon, for your use of a body has now disappeared. And it is not a personality that perceives this heaven where we stand together. Your need for a separate self has faded and is replaced by a presence that you've always felt but denied until now. It is my presence you look upon and feel, the truth that has always been true. The moment is finally here for this discovery, if you would but receive it. The time has finally come for this gift to finally be enjoyed, if you would but believe it. I am always with you, and now that you are able to receive me, you will never lose sight again. All I ask is that you imitate what is perfect within us both. When you imitate what is and what has always been true, then the experience of that truth is sure to follow. And this is what you want and have always wanted, the experience of what is true. So open your eyes and see what has always been so clear to me. The holy instant of your awakening is at hand. The holy instant of your awakening, right now, in this moment, right where it's always been. It never changes, it never leaves, it never shifts. The only thing that shifts or changes is our sight, because we've chosen to not see what has always been so clear. What has always been so clear. Once again, I've used this analogy before, but it's like walking around like this saying, I can't see anything. Where the hell are my glasses? They never left. The correction of your vision, the vision that you've used to see the world that you think you see, your vision has been impaired simply because what you were looking upon is not. It's not. What is the heaven where you are and have always been. And these are words at first. You're listening to words, but these words can never describe this. Words are symbols of symbols. They don't even come close. But the experience that is dawning and awakening and ripening within you, partly because, maybe totally because of this holy joining that we share, coming together, seeing this within each other, encouraging it within ourselves, reaching out to the divine like we just did, and then sending that light back down to the earth, being that conduit. That's all it takes, this holy joining and the desire and the willingness to see what has always been so clear to me. It's always right there, but we have to accept it, not just in our minds, but to allow that experience to penetrate. That's why this is not an intellectual gathering that we have here. We're not talking high theological ideas. Those get you nowhere. You know, theology is the study of God. And to study something, what do you need to do? Where do you need to be in relation to that thing you're studying? Separate. Just to study something, you need to be separate. So theology, or trying to get this intellectually, you need to be separate from that which you're studying. You need to be separate from God. And that's why theology will never get you there. But the mystics of every tradition know that it is not something for us to study or understand in our mind. It's something for us to fully experience, to fully allow. And that's why the Sufi path, for example, is so meaningful, because all it is the love of love itself, the love of the beloved. It doesn't matter if you're a Muslim studying that path, or Jewish or Christian or anything. All that matters is giving your heart totally to the beloved, to love itself, and then being the conduit that allows that light to penetrate. So very simple. So, that being said, I see Teddy here, disguised as Annie Lily. I don't see Vicky, so Vicky must be, you must be representing Vicky and Annie. So, you want to share anything with us, Teddy?
You know, Jimmy, I do. I'm gonna take us, you and I, back to when we hung around the old man and we meditated. 200 and 300 people with their hands in their air, jumping up and down,
Oh yeah.
crazy in perfect peace, and everybody experiencing the same thing, a shared whole experience. And people would come in and say, "What are you guys doing?" I'd say, "We're meditating." He said, "That's not what meditation is." And when you were talking about the Sufis, I was thinking the same thing. It's like I can imagine the first people who saw them spinning and saying, "Oh, we're meditating and contacting God." And all the traditions, the religions saying that's not how you do it. You go to mass and you pray, you do this, that, the other thing. And meantime, there's hundreds of joyful people who are just sitting there saying, "Yeah, this is the way we do it." And total stillness is like in my mind that would be going on, and there'd be total stillness in my mind, and all that was the communication. And we had the whole range. Theo would sit there and not say a word or even move, and
Yeah.
other guys would be sitting, jumping up and down, going crazy. And people like David Hoffmeister and Gary Renard would come in and say, "Wow, you guys are crazy. I can't stay here." You know, it's really funny because when you were talking about the Sufis, I was just thinking back, wow, I can imagine the first people who looked at them and saw them whirling. They must have, these guys are really nuts, man. And now they got a whole tradition everywhere.
There are so many of them. Almost every religion has some form that the rest of them say, well, that's crazy. You can't do it like that. Think of the Shakers, or all these other groups that spin or jump, or in more modern Christian traditions, the charismatics, all we're really doing is allowing the passion for love to take us over, to claim us. And who cares how you do that or what it looks like? Just allow it to happen. And I remember those days. And one of the things I remember, my daughter, who will be, I can't believe it, 35 pretty soon. At that point, she was 5 or so, 6 maybe. And her and this other little girl, I think, I don't remember her name, but they would stand outside the door. There was a glass door that led into the room where a couple of hundred of us would be. And they would be jumping up and down, imitating us, making fun of us. These little 6-year-old girls just jumping up and down, waving their arms in the air. There's nothing you can say about that, because if you're looking at it from the outside, of course you're going to say that's crazy. That doesn't make any sense. But when you're in it, when you're in that experience, there's nothing to do but to put your arms up in the air and say thank you, because that's the experience. And this is all we're igniting here. Doing something just as simple as we did at the beginning here. It's like it ignites a light that is so bright within us that you can't look at it from the outside. You can only feel it from within. And people may be outside thinking you're crazy and jumping up and down, and that's fine. That's fine. Teddy, you're muted. I can't hear you.
I got a message from somebody in Australia who just said that. They said, when I came into session and you were teaching, I was determined to not be like the rest of the people. So I sat in back of you. And then she said she was there 3 days, and all of a sudden she heard it, and she just jumped up and down and fell down on the floor in front of me crying. And she said she's never been the same since. And it just had to do with hearing the message and being able to express the passion and joy of hearing
Yeah.
in
Mm.
any way you wanted to. That is it, any way that worked.
Mm-hmm. To hear the message and then express it passionately. It's so beautiful. However you do that, some will do it with tears, others will do it by jumping for joy. It doesn't matter, but to really hear it. How many times have you been here in this session and somehow it may be one phrase like what Vicky said the other day, there is no spot where God is not. One phrase, one thought will penetrate. You heard it. Now you have to express it passionately, however that comes to you.
Total passion. That's it.
Total
Total
passion.
passion. And the body is always a limitation on that. So you're always trying to jump out of your skin to be that. It was perfect, Jimmy, about the dervishes. That was perfect.
Yep.
All I could say.
Yeah. That's beautiful. All right, let's see if any of you other crazy people out there have a way of expressing this passionately. Jackie, is that you wanting to say something, or are you just giving us hand mudras?
No, I want to say something, and I'd love to give you hand mudras. I know many of them. It's so funny because I've been thinking, not thinking, I've been feeling and doing dance as part of my way to get right in my passion. That's been how I do it a lot, and or how I come to that bliss. And when you said even the word whirling dervishes, I was already moving.
Mm,
And I couldn't, and then I had to go to the whirling dervishes to hear the music because I couldn't do just Allah. I had to go around and around and around. And so for me, it was like, oh, I've, I'm not a whirling dervish, obviously. The way they do it and the Sufism of it is so much about the heart and so much opening to God and so much about going with the flow of the river and bringing yourself to that ecstasy where your hands start here at the heart and then
mm-hmm,
they go up
mm-hmm,
and to watch it is actually blissful and mesmerizing too.
mm-hmm,
So because I can't really do it that well, but but I pretend, but I can feel it. It's in my body to do it very well. So for me, um, dance will always be that, will be inside that way. So it won't be words.
mm-hmm.
So blessings to how
Yeah.
we all do it different.
Keep the words as simple as you can. For me, the sound of Allah works because it does, as we said yesterday, it has that sound twice.
Yeah.
And that's so simple. I mentioned that book from the 13th century, The Cloud of Unknowing, and in that he says, keep it to one syllable. Keep it to love, or don't have it be complicated. Let your longing be completely held within as simple of a word or no word that you can. Because, like we said before, these concepts cannot contain this experience. So and move, let your body move, like you were saying, Jackie. Just doing something as simple as this and swaying. You can do this in your chair. It doesn't matter how old or how young you are. Because
Mhm.
I would love to be doing the whirling dervish thing in here, but in my tight little confine, I may fall and crack my head and no one will even know.
For me, we did Sufi dancing in
Right.
Sonoma County, like all the time. And part of it was being with other people and
Oh,
experiencing that. And we would just chant just really simple things and go to each person and sing in their eyes. And for some people, that was very uncomfortable. For me, it was like this delight that I could see that's when Namaste really meant something to me.
yeah.
The God in me could see the God in you. And so
Another great Sufi practice, the dances of universal peace.
mhm,
Mm.
mhm.
Thank you, Jackie.